From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene.
Yes.
All right, Wally, let's start with the Twins. They're in the thick of a playoff chase.
Yes.
They're trying to run down the Cleveland Guardians in the AL Central. They got through the Chicagos, the White Sox, and the Cubs, and now you have this monster series looming this weekend, Thursday through Sunday, 4 games in 3 days. So what do the Twins need to do against the Guardians? They're 0-5 entering this series against
Entering
Cleveland.
the weekend 0-5. You know, at minimum, obviously, they got to split. I mean, there's no question about that. But if you can win 3 out of the 4, you know, then you pick up a couple of games and you tighten the race up. And you serve notice, too. I mean, I think that's the other thing right now. You know, they're at the point where they're very close to not being able to win any tiebreakers in the situation.
Yeah.
So, and they still have to go to Cleveland for 3 more. So, yeah, I'd say if you can take 3 out of 4, which is certainly doable. I mean, if you beat the White Sox, you could beat the Twins, right? Or you can beat the, right? I mean, you can beat the Cleveland G-men, as you refer to them as.
Well, the Twins are very sorry to see the Chicago White Sox go off onto the horizon, right? I mean,
that's the bad news.
They only lost 1 game to them.
They don't have any more games against the White Sox. They've won 12 of their 13.
the White Sox are to the Twins what the Twins are to the Yankees. Kryptonite.
Yeah.
But
well, okay, but the White Sox are epic losers right now.
Historic, no question.
They're on a path. I mean, only the Cleveland Spiders will have lost more. Cleveland Spiders, by the way, of 1899, I believe it was, won 20 games out of 150.
You got a lot to be thankful for in your home city. Let's see, the Spiders won 20. The Cuyahoga River once caught on fire.
All
you
right.
had 10-cent beer night turned into a riot. Anything good going on in Cleveland besides the Guardians?
Well, come on now. The Browns were pretty good last year. They made the playoffs.
Hey, next week, Browns-Vikings joint practices in Cleveland. Then they'll play.
Am I going? The answer is no. It's counterfeit football.
It is. The best thing the NFL's done, and I don't like most of the things that Roger Goodell has implemented.
Yes.
I think he's ruined the game, quite honestly. but the joint practices, I like.
Yeah.
The games, they are counterfeit. They only mean something to the players trying to win a roster spot.
Right.
I get that. And tickets are cheap if you want to go watch.
Oh, boy.
But the joint practices are where the real competition is when the Browns and Vikings get together. I mean, they'll have multiple situations going on 2 or 3 practice fields.
Right.
The fans can come in. You can watch Cleveland's D against Minnesota's O or vice versa, or watch the special teams people, or zero in on that prospect you want to see. I like that. Then they play the counterfeit football game on the weekend, and it's an afterthought.
It really is. And you see more hitting, and we might as well just dive into Vikings now. You see more hitting in those scrimmages than you do per se in the posts or in the games themselves, because the games, as you said, are meaningless. You don't even play the starter. I mean, they asked Kirk Cousins asked if he was going to play any preseason. Nope, he's not playing any preseason. Aaron Rodgers not playing any preseason game. So why are you going to these preseason games except to watch a bunch of guys that are trying to make the NFL?
Good thing you didn't fork out money to be at the Hall of Fame game last week in Canton, Ohio, Houston against Chicago. No C.J. Stroud, no Caleb Williams.
Why would you not play Caleb Williams?
The rains come in the third quarter,
and they cancel
it's
the game.
All gone, washed down the drain.
Oh, that's like the game in the mid-'70s when the All-Stars, college All-Stars played against the Super Bowl champions, and the rains came, and they never played another college All-Star game again.
Football, that once rugged sport that was, the elements were, hey, we're gonna be out there no matter what comes, rain, snow, sun, heat, whatever, tornadoes. Now it's all gone by the wayside. I'm convinced 50 years from now, every NFL team will be in a dome. It might not even take that long.
Of course,
you bring
up the dome. By the way, Cleveland is looking at putting a dome.
I know they are.
I know. They're either going to dome their current stadium, which I think is preposterous, or they're going to build a stadium near the airport, which might even be more preposterous.
Well, and that's to my point. So then you take away an AFC North. All the AFC North teams play outside. I like that about your division. It's maybe the closest thing we have to old school football.
True.
But if the Brownies go inside, there's one that's you can check off the list. The Chicago Bears want to go inside. We know that. They've made it public.
Right.
They've telegraphed.
Well, they're terrible outside. They might as well go inside.
That's true. But you're not going to have too many teams left that play in the elements.
Yeah. Speaking of the Vikings, are you concerned about Jordan Addison? I mean, you know, I know he's got his court date now coming up in October. By the way, the day before the Vikings play in London, he's still facing a potential 3-game.
And he's supposed to be in Los Angeles the day after that game, right?
Right, in L.A. for his court date. And he's facing a possible 3-game suspension in addition to going to court to find out if he could serve up to a 6-month penalty, jail sentence for being caught DUI on the road.
I don't see that happening. What I do see is the 3-game suspension, the NFL getting involved. They have to send a message here. Look, he's made some huge mistakes, big hiccups. He's a young guy. He can learn from this. He can grow from it. We've talked to Chuck Foreman, who's from the same hometown, Frederick, Maryland, as Jordan Addison is. He says, look, his mom and his dad will set him straight. They're not happy at all about this. But point is, they're probably going to miss him for a few games. And if he doesn't learn from this one, he won't be a Minnesota Viking very long.
No. They've got to get the message to him now. And if the message doesn't ring true with him at this point, with 2 huge mistakes. Let's not forget he was 150 miles an hour down I-94 last summer. And then this year.
Does NASCAR want him?
Well, good old speed racer. He has an opportunity maybe to drive.
He can get a sponsor.
He can get a sponsor, man. He can switch sports.
What's with the Vikings? I know their offensive coordinator, Wes Phillips, had some issues with alcohol last season.
Yeah, well, was there some kind of problem in Egan, maybe? I mean, I don't know. Is Egan located in Wisconsin?
We better check the map. Could be 63 years without a Super Bowl trophy.
That would do it for sure. All right.
Yes. Well, stick around. We have a lot more coming up. We'll talk baseball.
Yes.
10K takes your purple ticket.
Get away to Lakeville, Minnesota, where your family will have tons of outdoor fun. Come for the nature and stay for the thrills. Bring the bikes, swimsuits, fishing poles, and walking shoes as Lakeville boasts trails, lakes, and beaches. Plan your itinerary at visitlakeville.org today.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
And this is 10,000 Takes, Wally and Eric. Now, let's be clear here. I did not set this interview up. I know that everybody out there thinks, okay, it's about Cleveland. You had I had nothing to do with this, right? I mean, you want to, all cards on the table here?
Yeah, full disclosure. I found out about this guy through a story in Philadelphia. And I thought, hey, he might be good for 10,000 takes because he's been to 29 of the 30 MLB ballparks, and he's done it in a wheelchair.
Yeah, that's
amazing. Remarkable. And his favorite ballpark is Dodger Stadium. So I said, let's bring him on.
All right. So there he is, Peter Knab, who has battled cerebral palsy through his life, but he has been to 29 of the 30 ballparks in the U.S. He lives in Cleveland. He has been to, get this is the number you just gave me, Peter. You said you've been to 450 games over the last 3 years, and by the end of this season, since 2021, you will have been to 520 games. Now, yes. I love Cleveland, the team formerly known as the Indians, but I got to tell you something. You get the badge of honor. I don't think I know anybody who's been to that many games in that short a period of time.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's hard for me to fathom at some points too. I mean, I was joking with some people at the end of last season because nobody on the Cleveland roster played all 162 games last year. Stephen Kwan led the way with 157, and I beat him out. So that was I was joking with some people that it's always fun to be at the top of a stat category at the end of a season in terms of games played / attended. So that was kind of funny. I was looking at that because I realized that like it's taught me to realize how much of a grind this season is, how much of a grind the baseball season is. I think a lot of fans don't really realize that. We just kind of turn on the TV one night and they're in one city. We turn on the TV the next night and they're in another city. Whereas I've been able to realize how much of a grind the Major League Baseball season truly is, and really gain. I've always been a fan of the game of baseball, but I've now really gained an appreciation for the game of baseball and just the day-to-day grind of the travel and of the 162 game schedule.
Yeah. So you're the MVF, most valuable fan, and you talk about the grind, and it's real, Peter. But MLB teams, they're traveling in luxury, charter jets, 5-star hotels, and they get a great per diem. You're in a wheelchair, and you're taking cheap flights. You're staying in Super 8s and Motel 6s. You're looking for ADA-friendly ballparks. You got to get up ramps. You're riding on bus systems, light rail. It's got to be incredibly challenging.
It can be, but if you do, it's a lot like baseball in the sense that if you do your advanced scouting, you can, you can be prepared for it. I mean, I like to say my opponent is this, is the city that I'm traveling to, or the infrastructure or lack thereof, and so I'm constantly scouting my opponent, as it were, and doing a bunch of research, because my goal is every time I go into a city, my goal is to know the city like a local, so that I don't have to ask any questions. And so, like I said, I essentially scout my opponent, and I've learned how to do that by now. Between flights and hotels and everything else. I just kind of embraced that grind of a season, and it's been a wild ride. And I'm looking forward to continuing that to Milwaukee later this year. And I will say also, I will be in Minneapolis when the Twins play the Guardians coming up in just about coming up in just a little bit here in early August. So I'm looking forward to that series in Minneapolis.
Okay, let me ask you this. I know you were here in the Twin Cities at Target Field for opening day when Cleveland and the Twins played. What are your thoughts about Target Field and, okay, I'll go there, the infrastructure and how you got to the ball game and all that? How does Minnesota compare to other stadiums?
I will say this. I love Target Field a lot. It's definitely right up there as one of my favorite ballparks. I do love Target Field a lot. I love and I do find the infrastructure of Minneapolis to be pretty easy to get around. So it's actually one of the easier cities to get around in the country.
What ballparks are not, ADA friendly? Where are the huge challenges for you? And do you have any stories about, having wheelchair issues, getting onto an L train or a subway or light rail?
Yep. Yes, I do. So to answer the first part of that question, I would say probably I would say Wrigley and Fenway have their own accessibility challenges, just simply because of how old they are, and so there are I mean, obviously there are ways to figure out your way around there, but it's a little more difficult because a lot of the ramps at Wrigley, for example, are extremely steep and did not have the ADA in mind. That being said, they have modernized it to some degree and improved it where they can, but obviously Wrigley and Fenway are the two obvious examples of ballparks that are particularly challenging when it comes to accessibility considerations. And then as far as light rail is concerned, I remember last season when I was at Wrigley, right after a Sunday night game at Wrigley, I was getting on the light rail. I was getting on the light rail in Chicago, and as I was getting on the train, I fell backwards and snapped the back of my chair in half.
Oh boy.
Pretty much, and so I ended up making it to O'Hare with part of my chair dragging on the ground. I made it to O'Hare. I made it to O'Hare Airport and made it home. Luckily, so but that was quite an adventure, and that's the biggest thing, is just trying to take care of my vehicle, as it were, because I've been putting a lot of miles on my chair, that's for sure, and so
Wow.
not to mention the fact that every time I fly, some people may not know this, but every time I fly, my chair goes underneath the plane, and so that's always a game. That's always a game of chance, hoping that your chair comes out in the same number of pieces that it went in under the plane.
450 games over the last few years. You plan on hitting 520 by the end of this season. I tip my cap to you. If I had one on right now, I would do that. But congratulations on your run. Keep it going. And let's get in. Let me see. Let me do the math on this. Let's see. 4 games in the ALDS, 4 more in the ALCS. Let's get 12 more games all the way through the World Series and snap this thing that started back in 1949.
That sounds good to me. That sounds good to me. I'd love to. I was thinking as I was leaving Philadelphia on Sunday night, I said to myself, I hope I'm back here in late October. That's what I think that's what I think the matchup might be. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's take care of the AL Central first, which and the Guardians can go a long way in Minneapolis and here in early August. So let's take care of that first.
All right.
Maybe you'll wind up at Dodger Stadium in October.
No. Well, we'll take it. Thanks, Peter.
I wouldn't mind that either.
Yeah. All right. He is Peter Knab. He has traveled to all Cleveland games last season. He's been to most of them this year. It's amazing. We're back with more here on 10,000 Takes after this. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya? Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities, with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
And 10,000 Takes rolling along. Okay. The Olympic dream in Paris is in the books, or will be in the books as of Sunday night. And as I'm thinking about this, that means that Los Angeles is on the clock now, right?
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
2028 is when we get the Olympics in L.A., the Summer Olympics, that is. And as you look back at these Olympics, there are a number of sports/activities that I find very strange that they are Olympic events. I mean, you mentioned to me the other day you weren't thrilled with archery. I mean, there are others that are kind of odd. I mean, they're breakdancing.
How does that wedge its way into the Olympic Games? I mean, what in the name of Jesse Owens is going on here?
Exactly. So with that said, with sports like breakdancing, whatever else that they came up with this year that you may or may not have ever heard of before as a sport, I thought maybe we should come up with some potential sports for the 2028 games here in Los Angeles, in the United States of America. I'll let you lead off. we've each come up with a handful here. But go ahead, I'll let you start.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with water skiing. I know surfing's in the Olympics, and I'm happy about that. It'll be perfect out there in SoCal. Cue up the Beach Boys music. But water skiing on one ski. It's got to be on one ski.
Got to be slalom.
You can do it on salt water. I've done it out there before. And, yeah, I think that would be a hit out there in the Pacific Ocean.
How about jet ski?
That almost made my cut, but I don't know how athletic do you got to be on a jet ski.
Well, how athletic you got to be to do equestrian? You got to ride a horse. The
horse is the athlete.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know we had horse Olympics. Okay. All right. How about Olympic tetherball?
Oh, boy. Is it recess time?
Well, I mean, Napoleon Dynamite was pretty good at that.
Okay.
He might qualify.
I haven't thought about tetherball in a long time.
There you go. Olympic
right.
tetherball.
That'll be the recess break in the Olympic Village.
Oh, I'm not done. Go ahead. I'll give you another one. Speaking of recess, how about dodgeball? I mean, if you can dodge
team handball.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Okay.
Ben Stiller would be good at that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. Why not? I mean, anything goes. I'll counter with frisbee golf. Frolf. You got a lot of courses out there in Los Angeles you can choose from.
That's true.
It's inexpensive. It's exercise. There's no golf cart in frisbee golf.
No,
it's your feet.
I play some disc golf.
I like it.
Well, unfortunately here in Minnesota, disc golf has become a haven for the pot smokers.
Well, I have a hunch in SoCal it's the same thing.
You go out, man, there's just these wafts of smoke across the landscape.
We can come up with some sort of an ordinance for 2 weeks.
Yeah, apparently it's legal on disc golf courses is what I'm being told, which is not true.
That would be a drawback.
Yeah, it's a definite drawback.
I'd rather breathe in smog than that.
Yeah, me too. It is smog. All right, this one came from our editor, Paul Langfellow. He came up with hopscotch. We had Olympic hopscotch.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, you got to be able to jump, right?
Yeah, and you got to do it on one leg.
You got to do it on one leg.
You got to have balance. Just kind of like the balance beam.
It's just the balance beam, but you're on the ground. You got to have that pebble you can throw too.
All right, we'll allow that one in. I'm going to go for hiking because you have the marathon, right? They got near LA is Mount Whitney, one of the highest peaks in North America. Let's have a hiking marathon, and you'll get the top hikers from around the globe, and we'll see who gets to the top of Mount Whitney first. Have drone footage, blimp footage. It'll be fun.
Blimp footage. I kind of like that one, though. That might be an actual one we could actually wedge in there somehow.
I've done my share of hikes. It's not easy, especially when you're elevating.
Okay, yeah. The air is thinning out.
Yes, indeed.
And your legs are thinning out. All right. My last one, cornhole.
Oh, what goodness.
Bags.
That's right. And we don't know about it in Minnesota because there's no such thing as tailgating anymore here, right?
Yeah, well, there's plenty of going on. But I figure, curling is kind of the same. I mean, you were complaining about the athletes that do, various events like archery right now. And I said, well, how is that any different than curling in the Winter Olympics? And I've heard a lot of people say, hey, I really like the Winter Olympics. And the Summer Olympics, not so much. Well... Are you an athlete if you're a curling guy or gal?
I would call curling a skill, not a
I agree.
sport. I would say the same thing about archery. I'd say it about NASCAR.
How about bowling?
Skill.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Skills, but you're not an athlete.
All right. And I would think too, if you're going to have that last one, cornhole, that if you're worried about marijuana, probably have to worry about a lot of drinking.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
I'm going to have that one in Wisconsin.
All right. What's your last one?
Tackle football. It's gone now. We don't have any more tackle football in the USA. Let's bring it back. Head slap, uppercut, head to head, go for the knee. Let's have tackle football in the Olympics.
Well, they are going to have flag football in the Olympics.
Of course.
That's coming to LA in 2028.
Well, that's the NFL.
All right. Takes of the day coming up next. This is 10,000 Takes. Your dodgeball in the Olympics ticket.
Let your adventure begin in Lakeville, Minnesota. We have over 90 places to grab a bite to eat, and we're close to the Mall of America, Valley Fair, and the Minnesota Zoo, plus hotel packages and great rates. Visit Lakeville. We're serious about fun all year round.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya? earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10K takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode. Big shout out to the people watching in the Twin Cities and all of those overdeveloped suburbs. Glad to have you.
Indeed.
We're going to find out what your mood is as we get to takes of the day. Are you an angry American, a sarcastic Sam? Maybe you're a happy camper. What is it?
Well, I would say somewhere in the middle would be my guess. If I'm a hardcore Vikings fan, however, I might be hopping mad, not hopscotching mad, but hopping mad. If I wanted to go out to a practice, say this past Monday, August 5th, well, that didn't work. The Vikings canceled it because of rain. Imagine that. They can't practice or play football in the rain. Well, they're not used to it, first of all, right? They're an indoor squad, so they're not used to it. They are. Yeah, very much so. But the good news is if you paid for a ticket to go watch them practice, you can get a full refund.
They call it a rain check?
Yeah, it's a rain check. Yeah, they have football rain checks now, if you believe that. I'm guessing that those tickets are digital, too. So, you could get your money back, or you could go next Monday, this coming Monday, August 12th. You can go to that practice. But here's the rub for me. Who pays to go watch a team practice? I mean, to me, first of all, I won't go out there for free unless we have some absolute work we need to do. Secondly, you're going to go pay and watch a team practice. I guess the only thing I can say about that is it's probably better than one of those counterfeit football games because those are no good at all. I mean, you're not watching the guys that are going to be playing on Sundays. You're watching guys that are going to be playing in the XFL or in the CFL or in that arena league that folded up. Those are the guys you're going to be watching. And those are probably the guys you were watching this past spring anyway. So, yeah, I am not thrilled with anything that goes on before they start playing for real in September. So, check it at the door. Go watch it if you want, but I would suggest staying away from watching practice.
All right, let's check out that mood meter. Yes, indeed. Sarcastic Sam, right there in the middle. Yeah, we yearn for the days of Mankato.
Oh,
when you could just
drive
down and watch them practice for free.
In the stadium down there was Blakesley Stadium.
Yeah, they got better facilities out of it because the Vikings had to have state-of-the-art stuff, and so Minnesota State benefited. But no more. Very few teams, go to a college anymore and train. But one of them is the Vikings' first opponent in their counterfeit football game this weekend, Saturday at the House of Noise, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders have always kind of marched to their own drumbeat, right?
Yes, sir.
Their new head coach, Antonio Pierce, he's bringing in a lot of energy, and he's taken that team out of Vegas into Orange County, California, Costa Mesa, to get him away from the Strip. Probably a good idea.
Not bad.
But not only that, if you go to the game, look at the Raiders' assistant coaches. They might be in pretty good shape because Antonio Pierce in the offseason, Wally, sent out a text blast or an email blast, whatever they do, to his assistants. He says, I want you in shape when camp starts. And he said, we're going to go through the same drills the players do. Now, we don't expect you to bench press as much as Crosby, the defensive end, or run as fast as Devontae Adams, the wideout, but you are going to do what they do. So these assistant coaches, Marvin Lewis in his 60s, 2 fake knees and a fake hip, he's got to do all this stuff. And Rob Ryan, he doesn't miss many meals.
No.
So they did it, and I guess kumbaya, it's all good news for the Raiders and their staff. We'll see how it goes against the Vikings and then the rest of the season.
Let's see if those guys line up on Sunday now, those coaches.
You never know. All right, we got to go. Let's FedEx out those thank yous. One goes to David Weld, Paul Langfellow, Peter Knab, and, of course, Rocky. For Wally, I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.